let's look at the reaction of solid potassium reacting with water to give hydrogen gas and potassium hydroxide. To balance an equation, let's just set up our table. What I do is I create two columns. So we have our reactants on the left and our products on the right. And I write down, or I make a list in the left-hand side, a list of all the atoms involved in this equation, and I write down what we have. We have one potassium atom, we have two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom on the left, and then I write down what we have on the right. We have three hydrogen atoms, one potassium atom, and one oxygen atom. And then I have a look and I can see instantly that this equation isn't balanced because there are two hydrogen on the left and three hydrogen on the right. So what I do is I look at the side of the equation that has the least hydrogen atoms and I increase these. That's my first step. So because on the left side I have H2O, I'm going to add a coefficient of 2, and that will give me 4 hydrogen. It also now changes the number of oxygens I have, so now I have 2 oxygens. And then what I do is I rewrite the equation, the new equation, below my table. I'm not going to put in solid, liquid, gas or aqueous states just to save me time, but I will add those at the end. So this is now my equation after the first step, and then I repeat this process. I make my two columns, list all of the elements on the far left, and then I write down what I have. So now I have 1 potassium, 4 hydrogen and 2 oxygen, and on the right side I have 3 hydrogen, 1 potassium and 1 oxygen. So I can see this is still not balanced because my hydrogens and oxygens do not have the same numbers on the left and the right side. So what I do is I simply look at my first row, which is the middle row, which is hydrogen, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase one of my species on the right side by adding a coefficient. Now I also notice that with oxygen I have 2 on the left and I have 1 on the right, so I need 2. So what I will do is I will choose the potassium hydroxide, put 2 of those, a coefficient of 2 in front of the potassium hydroxide, and now I have 2 potassium, I have 2 oxygen, and I have a total of 4 hydrogen on the right, and then I write a new equation. And then I repeat this, and there'll be another step where I set up my columns. I write down all of the elements on the left, and then I write down how much I have of each. 4 hydrogen, 2 oxygen on the left. On the right, I now have 2 potassium. I have 4 hydrogen and 2 oxygen. This time, I can see that there's only 1 potassium on the left and 2 potassium on the right. So I can fix this by adding a coefficient of 2 in front of potassium. And it looks like my equation is balanced. So finally, I will rewrite the final equation. I'm going to add the states in. Solid potassium plus 2 liquid water molecules plus hydrogen gas plus 2 potassium hydroxide ions. Now that should be balanced, but just to double check, I'll make my rows again, write down the elements on the far left, and I just check the numbers. So on the left side I have 2 potassium, 4 hydrogen and 2 oxygen. On the right side I have 2 plus 2 hydrogen, which is 4, potassium I have 2, and oxygen I have 2. So therefore I have a balanced equation. And so this equation is my answer.